The book of Job, from which our first reading comes today, has been called the most consistently theological work in the Old Testament. It is an extended discussion of one issue we all face, the question of suffering. The book teaches that suffering is sometimes a punishment for sin, sometimes a warning against future sin. It also addresses the question why good people also suffer. This last aspect predates Rabbi Harold Kushner's famous book, Why Bad Things Happen to Good People. In today's selection, God responds to Job's desire for a personal interview with God to find out why he is suffering. God responds not by justifying his actions, but by reminding Job who he, God, is. Perhaps one lesson we can learn from the story of Job is just how big our God is. But for us Christians, this is an incomplete story. If Job had lived after the life and death of Jesus, as we do, there would be a big difference in the story. Where the story of Job fails is in Jesus' revelation that God is love. We know from Jesus that we are loved with an everlasting love. God, in his unconditional love, does not cause evil in our lives. On this Sunday, Jesus challenges us to have courage and to not fear when storms rise in our lives. Jesus is in the boat with us, just as he was with the disciples in today's gospel story. The disciples think that Jesus is untroubled by the storm going on around him, just as we might think Jesus is indifferent to the storms in our lives. In the first century, the Sea of Galilee was a boundary between the Jews and the Gentiles, those people with whom the Jews tried to have as little to do as possible. Jesus challenged his followers to cross the sea and enter the unknown territory of the Gentiles. The sea symbolized the fears and the doubts the disciples and the early church must have felt when faced with outreach to the Gentiles. Although Jesus was with them, they felt as if they faced the journey alone. It might seem that Jesus was asleep. The early church, like the church today and like the boat, battered and blown about, will not sink. Jesus will not let any of his followers sink into chaos. Today's readings are about God, the one who created the universe and cares for each one of us as an only child. He invites us to have faith that the conqueror of the seas and of all chaos will help us to grow closer to him through all the challenges of our lives. Jesus is the calm in the midst of the storms of our lives. Jesus' care for us is unquestionably the result of God's unconditional love for the world. With Jesus, we can survive any storm.